Hi there, I'm Nathan, the co-founder of Wobby, and I'm super excited to show you the capabilities of our all-in-one workspace. So with Wobby, you can go from research to content up to 4 times faster. Let's start with the homepage. Here on the homepage, you can search for public sources, your own sources, or even in documents. Documents is what you see here at the bottom. So these are your own work. These are presentations that you've created. These are papers that you've written, or articles, or reports, and so on. So here at the search bar, there are a couple of things you can do. You can paste a URL to get some insights from a web page. You can discover public sources by clicking here. You can also connect your own sources. You can connect CSV files, Excel files, paste data from a clipboard. You can also connect live SQL data. And last but not least, you can also add a web page as a source. So let's say now I want to find some data about women in national parliaments in Scandinavia. So we can just ask Wobby about this topic. Amazing, so now Wobby did some research for us. It gave us some relevant, reliable public sources that we can use. Like here, we have all kinds of web sources. We also get to see some statistical sources that Wobby found for us. Like, for example, this one is from Eurostat, published 9 months ago. And here you have some actual numbers that you can immediately start using for your analysis. Here at the left, you also get to see a summary of all the sources that it found. So here it says, as of August, the share of women in national parliaments is around 45%. And then it also shows you the sources that it used for these conclusions. Now we can go on and open up all these sources in what we call a document. So I click here on Continuing Document, and I can ask Wobby to include web sources and to also include the statistical source that it found. And now we can click on Create a New Document. Great, so now we have opened a new document. On the left, you will see your actual document. This is where your work happens. And on the right, you have the sidebar with multiple options. Now we have the chat open, but as a first option, we have the sources. Here you can find the sources of your document. So here we have the statistical source from Eurostat that we've added, but you can also add your own sources, private sources, public sources, and so on. Then you have the chat. So you can have multiple chats. If I go back here, I will see my list of chats, and I can just open a new chat. I can make it full screen, and I can view the settings of my chat and change the chat language. Here in the chat, I can ask Wobby about my data, I can visualize the data, I can even ask Wobby to write a headline for my document because it's aware of my document. So as you can see here, it's aware of my document and it's also aware of the source that I've added. In the sidebar, I can also find some previous charts that I've made. I can also find images. These are publicly available images that I can just immediately use and drag and drop into my document. I also have the settings of my document. Here I can change the language of my document. So let's say now in the chat, I want to ask Wobby to create a chart. So I want to see the evolution of women in parliament in Scandinavian countries. Nice, so now we have our chart. So here it created the chart and we can immediately drag and drop it here into our documents. So now we can see the evolution here of the average percentage of women, and it's going up. So we can now also make this chat full screen and we can see the table that Wobby created for this analysis. We can click here on Analysis Breakdown to validate the analysis and see what Wobby did behind the scenes. We can also edit this chart, so you can modify the colors, you can make it even like an area chart, and so on. And now we can also ask Wobby follow-up questions, we can edit the chart, and so on. Here in the document, you also have some other features, like for example, here when you click on this, you have the Generate Content feature. With this feature, you can generate all kinds of texts and summaries from your chart. So if I click on Generate Paragraph in English, Wobby will generate a paragraph about the chart. So it says the average percentage of women in Scandinavian parliaments has shown a general upward trend. And now I can make this bold even, and if I want, I can give it a color like this to make it stand out. Another thing we can do is we can ask Wobby to investigate trends about the chart's data. So Wobby will look into your chart and will try to understand trends in the chart, and then it will give you some suggestions. Like it will say, for example, what was the impact of 2009 policy changes on women's representation? And then it will start doing research about this trend and to also kind of like give some extra context about your chart. So if I click on this, there we go. So now Wobby did some research for us. So for this research, you can choose your own language, you can choose your own tone of voice, you can choose your own formats that you want, the lengths. You can also even choose and control which sources Wobby can use for its research. So now I will insert this research into my document. So in 2009, several initiatives and policy changes were introduced to promote gender equality. For example, the Swedish government's Global Program for Gender Equality and UNIFEM's new Fund for Gender Equality were significant efforts aimed at enhancing women's representation in politics. We can also go on and click through the sources that it found to back up its research. There we go. So now we did some research on women's representation in politics in Scandinavia. Your document is super intuitive. So when you type in / you will get to see some other tools that you can use. So for example, you have writing tools, you can create even an image, and you can do extra research. When I click on this one, I can ask Wobby about anything and it will do online research for me. It's actually a desk research assistant, which is so useful. And you have all these capabilities for your own sources as well. So in this document, for example, I created a report on Wobby users. And so I asked Wobby to first write an outline for me. And then using Wobby, I wrote an introduction and I created all these charts to really like get an in-depth view of who are the users in Wobby. And the cool part about this is that I used a combination of a SQL database from our users database, and I also added an export from our HubSpot CRM to get extra information about our users. So another example is the satisfaction survey report that I made with Wobby. So I connected some survey data to Wobby. So this is some survey data on Starbucks customer satisfaction. And then I asked Wobby to create an outline for my report. And then in no time, I started summarizing all the data. I wrote all these texts using Wobby. I created charts and so on. The cool thing is that once you have this full report, with the help of Wobby, you can just start rewriting text. You can even translate it to Dutch, English, French, whatever you choose it. And whenever you feel like your work is ready to be shipped, you can click on share and you can then share it with either your team members or make it public. You can copy the link and share it with the world. You can also export it. You can download a Word file, PDF file. This is Wobby in a nutshell. I hope that was clear to you, and you can find more information on our user manual that is online. And if you need any help, please contact us. We would love to help you. Thanks.